On this episode of Business Boot Camp.
She was just a pain in the ass to work for.
Hopefully we can replace the guy that I'm firing with somebody that's solid.
I would like yourself to be able to understand the picture before I take your advice.
I truly believe Aaron has the ability to sell.
Dazzle them with your brilliance or baffle them with your bullshit, son.
A bit hectic. I don't know if we can pull this one off.
Maybe you just want to get their attention. It's my train horn.
60% of businesses will fail in their first 3 years. I'm Mike Andes, and I'm on a mission to fix this. I know the fear, and I felt their pain. For the next 30 days, these owners will be sweating it out while trying to avoid becoming another statistic on this season of Business Boot Camp. Last week on Business Boot Camp, we checked in with Aaron Espinoza from Arizona Yard Maintenance. When you only have $2,000 in cash, but there's almost $300,000 in liabilities, that's very scary. His business had hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. That is all of his profit being wiped out because of loan payments. Massive equipment that was not being used frequently.
So that's why I got all this equipment, is because I know I can just easily make money when I have this equipment.
And he was running his entire business, doing over $500,000 in annual revenue off of the Reminders app of his cell phone.
I just use the Reminders app on my iPhone.
Okay. We told him he had to get onto some sort of software and start organizing the business if he wanted to take it to the next level. You're one big job that doesn't pay on time away from a really very stressful moment. Let's catch up with Aaron and see how he's been doing.
Just woke up from a nice little nap, about to do a job estimate / sale. My father, he once told me, dazzle them with your brilliance or baffle them with your bullshit, son. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go make the sale, make it happen, dazzle them with my brilliance. Gotta be charismatic, charmful, happy, smile. Yes, we wanna do it. We're gonna make it happen, and we can get it done. I have a couple job estimates today. The meeting with Mike, my 6-year-old stepdaughter, she has surgery today. She's gonna start chemotherapy today for her brain cancer. So hopefully that goes well. I'll pray that goes well. All of my guys, they have it off except for my foreman. I had him go back to wrap up a job. They didn't get back until 7 o'clock last night.
I had to go back to a property which job was not done. Had to go remove some more weeds, pull the whole property, remove a few more limbs, and then do a walkthrough with the customer to make sure he's satisfied.
They did some stuff that they weren't really supposed to do, so ended up causing a delay. There's a little bit of work that needs to be done today. So we have a meeting today with Mike. We're gonna go over, I think, Jobber, some of the challenges I've been facing. This is the Reminders app. I got it on my iPhone. The downfall in doing it this way is it kind of works off the honor system and it works off of my brain. Right now, one of my struggles is I'm getting all these accounts, and if some of these people don't pay, I just may overlook it. I noticed, one account, I'm like, man, I don't think I received a payment from this lady, and it was 3 months. Essentially we provided service for her for 3 months without getting paid.
My concern is that the business can't grow much more with that being the bottleneck for everything. And I'm actually really interested to see, even next week when you're gone, how things continue to operate when your manager takes over, not having the Reminders app, or potentially there is. So maybe educate me a little bit.
Yeah, with that, I think it's just the initial fears of change. I don't want to make things more stressful on myself and end up causing a bunch of havoc in my business and make things worse. I would like yourself to be able to understand the picture before I take your advice. I am a little leery of implementing something before someone actually understands. Be smart about it. This is my livelihood. I got a family to support. So with that being said, I looked into Jobber, but I was hesitant, and I know that you're smart, you know what you're doing. I mean, you've really delved into this business, more than I have. I think it may be difficult to completely understand everything, but I know that we all mean well.
It'll definitely be a transition. It'll be very, very difficult because right now the Reminders app is so simple and you understand it like the back of your hand. Here's where my concern is and why I push the Jobber side. Because in my mind, there's 2 directions you take the business. One, you scale it up and use all this equipment to its full capacity. So it's not sitting in the yard for 4 days out of the week. It's actually being used all the time. And that is, you got to grow that business to 150,000+ per month in revenue. And I think you have the capabilities as you are in terms of your confidence.
I might be broke, but I look like $1 million.
If you're going to do that route, that's where I see you have to have a software, because you're going to need someone else to start handling a lot of the stuff that you're doing currently, like scheduling, dispatching, invoicing. You're not going to be able to handle it all at 150,000 plus a month in revenue. And that's the size of business I feel you're going to need to grow to make it worthwhile to have all this debt and this large equipment. Route 2 is you stay on the very simplified route, but you get rid of all the debt structure and you focus on simple services and then just raise your prices. And I think that's the route you don't want to go, because you're confident in selling the larger projects, and there's definitely money to be had there. At Augusta Lawn Care, we mostly focus on the simple services and running a much more lean model. But if you're going to go big or go home, you better make sure that you really go all in and get more projects. You can't have a tree chipper sitting around for 4 or 5 days a week. You can't have trucks that are worth $120,000 not pulling massive loads every single day on big projects, because you bought the equipment to basically triple the business. And that's why you're hitting this cash crunch, because you've invested so much for the upfront of what you're going to grow the business into, right?
Yeah.
And that's fine. You've obviously bought into the vision and you know where you can take it. We've got to get there pretty quickly though. And in my mind, you're going to have to eventually hand things off that are not sales related to somebody else. The team showed me this message from Aaron that he had posted on one of my YouTube videos. This is the time to get scrappy and start paying some of this debt down so we can actually put some profit on the table.
I don't know. They must be a lot stronger than I was when I was 6 years old.
Let me just say that none of this is staged or fake. Business Bootcamp is real. These are real business owners going through real things. We do not stage things. This takes a lot of time and effort on the part of our media team, and I'd really appreciate it if you just did 2 things for me. Number 1, if you have not subscribed, please subscribe. It tells YouTube that this type of content needs to go to other business owners. Second thing, if you could share this video in like a Facebook group or with other industry experts, or you have a WhatsApp group with other people in your industry, please share it. It really helps us. We spend a lot of time and money and energy, and if we're gonna keep doing this, we gotta see some good results. So please share the content and subscribe and help us out tremendously.
I don't want to do all that extra cleanup that I'm about to.
Last week on Business Bootcamp, we talked to Dylan Moy, who has built a $400,000 lawn care business called Urban Roots Landscaping. My concern is more a matter of the work-life balance, the amount of hours you're working, and the fact that it's just not sustainable. However, Dylan has big plans for the business and wants to take it to $1 million company.
Did you say you think we have the potential of 60 to 80,000 a month in revenue next year?
Absolutely, yep. I think that would be as a minimum. In order to do that, though, he's going to start working on the business instead of in the business, and allow and empower other team members to take things off his plate.
Feeling pretty pumped about their buy-in in this whole process, growing the company.
Let's see if Dylan can empower his team and take the business to the next level.
All right, so we have 2 people out sick today. So this might push things back in terms of the calendar, and may have to do some rescheduling, call some clients around, but we'll see if we can scramble and make it happen. Bree is gonna drive the trailer. We did some trailer training last week. She did great, so we're gonna have her train. We are going to downtown Tacoma area, so it's a little more congested down there, so this will be a test. This is one of those jobs where we opened up a whole can of worms, just feeling a bit frustrated by the scope of work this is turning into. So we decided, or said we would limb up this holly here, and once we did, it exposed the ground. There were some complaints by residents about all the leaves on the ground, so we picked up all our clippings. The unfortunate part is the leaves were not from our clippings necessarily. It was just about a foot and a half deep of leaves that accumulated over the year. So again, at what point do we just like say we gotta call it good and maybe re-estimate? I do want to get to a good spot where it looks much better than it did, but at the same time, cleaning up a foot and a half of leaves after we just agreed to trim up a few branches is not what I thought we were signing up for. So loads of fun over here. So just getting it cleaned up. I was gonna tell you, I checked in with Jose, didn't hear back yet. He's probably sleeping, recovering. Yeah. I don't necessarily expect him to be back. He sounded pretty sick. A bit hectic. 2 people out, so 5 people are including myself on our crew. You know, obviously makes a big impact in terms of keeping up on jobs. I don't know if we can pull this one off and get all the work done this week. I may have to push one of the cleanups back. We'll see if our guys are healthy and ready to be back tomorrow. If not, we'll switch things up. Again, just another day. I'm kind of delaying my my goal to look some of that Google marketing stuff, look more into that, learn about it, and post an ad, but I'll get around to it once things slow down in the next day or so. We haven't had a lot of hectic weeks like this before because we had one guy out for 2 days sick, another guy out sick, you know, so with a smaller company like this, that's going to make a big impact. We made some adjustments. We moved one cleanup to next week. Yeah, just kind of scrambled, worked later nights. So we got through it though. It was okay.
Okay, so for Jose and Michael, did we have any sort of feedback or update on them this week?
Yeah, so we did our kind of staff fun day, quarterly type thing that we hadn't done for a while. Today, we did our staff fun day. Well, basically, it's just an offsite meeting where we had some breakfast and then we went to a cool place called Top Golf. It was fun. Had a lot of fun. I think everybody enjoyed that part of it. So it was good to kind of build camaraderie. This is the first time that I've truly kind of opened the books to the team. So we looked at a profit and loss for the first time. I went over just some of the basics of it. But then we did a pretty lengthy conversation, and I actually did include the other workers there. It was just more of a full group thing. And I felt it appropriate because they're small enough. And the other two, even though they're not being kind of essentially promoted to a new position, I talked about the value that they bring as well and how important it is that they help us build. You know, Michael felt that 22 an hour was reasonable for starting hourly. He's always been kind of going along with the flow a little bit. Whereas Jose, he tends to kind of advocate for himself a little bit.
And so how did the other team members react?
They don't have that same buy-in, but I'm hoping that after hearing this, they go home, they start to think about it and be like, oh, this guy is really taking his business serious. But truly, they're pretty quiet. Quite honestly, like maybe a little bit checked out at moments, you know, so. Yeah, it was a little tough at times because I felt like I was a little bit long-winded. There's times where I felt like I was losing my audience a little bit, but there were also moments where we had great conversations and discussions and good ideas were thrown out there on how we can improve things.
Yeah, like the offsite or like team meeting type stuff where you open up the books, typically you're going to have most of the guys check out. And so you are looking for the ones that do kind of gravitate somewhat more towards what you're talking about. It can be a challenge when you're talking about specific positions inside the company in the future and what they're going to be paid. Sometimes that individual won't want to open up because now they're talking about their pay in front of all their peers, especially if it's greater than what their peers are making. I would consider, if you think after that meeting that Michael and Jose are still the right people, that you do a one-on-one with them because they've now have time to think about it and actually digest some of it. And they're not in front of their coworkers talking about their own pay.
I threw a lot at them. It was a long meeting, probably way too long. I mean, I think we're setting our goals high. It's not going to be an easy year. We're looking to grow and it's going to be an investment monetarily and time. And I think I need to have another one-on-one with some of the guys who are going to be the key players in trying to grow the business. I'm going to check back in with them sometime this next week, have a conversation more individually with each of them. Again, hopefully I gain more of that confidence that we're all 100% bought in and just push forward and be ready to meet these new goals for next year.
This job was done 2 months ago and it's just now coming up that the customer has missing stuff and damaged stuff.
Last week on Business Bootcamp, we checked in with David Wagner, the founder of Headband Movers, but he was having some real serious problems with his team. And I think for you, like the struggle has been finding people. So these guys, you kind of let them do their quote unquote bad behavior because you just need bodies. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yep, you're spot on.
And 2 of his employees were not showing up on time and were dragging down the culture of the business.
Yesterday, one of my guys didn't show up. It's been tough working with some of the guys on the team.
Let's check in with David and see what's changed since we recommended he open up the books and share the numbers with his team.
Yo, good morning. Got a truck rolling out right now. Had some jobs come in last minute, which is great because we had 0 jobs on the books for Monday through Thursday. So it's always great when jobs come in, last minute jobs. People are unorganized, forget to book their movers. I don't know how they let that happen, but some people do. One of my guys is late. This is a young kid on the team. He just hasn't been waking up on time. So had to have a conversation with him in front of the team. I did not get the chance to let one of my guys go yesterday, so I'm going to do that today. I'm going to give him a call within the next hour. Just let him know that he's not going to be a good fit for the team. I got an interview already. Somebody's going to come in within the next hour. They haven't followed up with me yet. Hopefully they show up. Hopefully it's a good interview. Hopefully he's going to be a good fit.
Were we able to talk to them about open book management and kind of show some of the numbers this past week?
I was able to sit down with my dispatch manager and then put together a game plan for the meeting. I'm waiting on my CPA, my bookkeeper, to get back to me. So they're going to put the books together and have everything ready for me in the next week and a half.
So this past week, how was it with the team? I know there was the 2 of them that were not super bought in. The other 4 were pretty gung-ho. How did that play out this week?
Yeah, so I ended up letting one of the guys go. And then he's friends with the other guy that I've been having issues with. He actually just sat down in my office the next day and then put in his 2 weeks notice.
Got it.
So,
do you think 4 guys is going to be sufficient for now? Or is it really those end of month where it's going to be a little bit tight now?
yeah, it's going to be really tight at the end of the month. I just hired another guy yesterday, brought him on. He's an experienced mover, but I need to have at least 6 guys to be able to operate at a profitable level.
Have you thought about trying to do something where you have like a team lead for the truck that's the driver and kind of the one that is more experienced that you're going to keep on longer term? They're at a higher percentage and you actually give a percentage of the revenue from the job to the lead and then a lower percentage to the crew members. My thought on this is if you did that, you could potentially turn your team leads into kind of where they're recruiting because they kind of have their crew underneath them that they have to go find. And they know if they can generate more revenue in a day, they get more revenue themselves because they're getting a percentage of the revenue. I really believe that if David can figure out how to pay his employees a percentage of the labor revenue and give them a piece of every project, it'll really help reduce the waste between all the jobs and it'll keep the crew accountable to showing up on time. You know, have you ever thought about giving them a percentage of revenue or doing more of a performance-based pay instead of just hourly?
Yeah. I just had that conversation with one of my mentors a couple of days back.
My thought is, okay, why don't we look at the books when we get them back and see, okay, what percentage of our revenue went towards wages? Let's just say it's 40%. Okay.
It's right around 40%.
So let's say, okay, it's 40%. We need to have a healthier margin. Let's give 35% of all revenue to our crew. And how do we break that down? Well, okay, we're going to give 38% of that to the team leads, and we're going to give 30% of that, the revenue split to the crew. So that way it's like, okay, if I have a truck, I'm going to have 1 or 2 guys underneath the team lead, and they're going to be at a lower percentage of the job. Because you're doing by the hour, theoretically, they could go slower and make more money. The thing is, they have that boss there all the time, which is the customer, to keep them honest. And they're going to want to make sure they do a good job because they are on hourly. It's not like they're going to try to skimp. I think that'd be really interesting, not so much from a making more money perspective. Like if we could take it from 40% to 35, there's obviously margin there for you. And so if they kill it and make more money, that's fine. Like you're okay with it because you know you locked in this 35%. And then furthermore, it's a matter of you don't have to be as micromanaging, because you know that team lead is busting their butt to make sure their crew stays on task, gets the job done, because they're making a really good amount of money if that customer's happy and there isn't issues.
Yeah. I mean, I give my leads a lot of autonomy out in the field to run things, and that's something that I've been doing over the last 3 months, just because I just have too much on my plate in the first place. But if I can incentivize my leads to be in more control of the job, I'm all for it.
I think it shifts in their mind though when they know they're getting a percentage of that, and what that does is cuts out all the little lollygagging that's not actually producing revenue. So right. Getting to jobs happens way faster. Fueling up, brakes, all of that is where you're going to see the increase in profitability, because now they are not getting paid for that. They're getting paid to be on the job site. So, I'll set you up on P4P software. And what's nice about your model is you can use the simple version of P4P, which is you simply are getting a percentage of the labor revenue. It's just straight across the board. It sounds like that's one of his biggest frustrations right now is people just not showing up to work or being 15, 20, 30 minutes late. If the whole crew is getting a percentage of the revenue from the job, they do not want to be sitting around waiting for their crew members. And so they're going to put internal pressure on each other and keep each other accountable instead of him always feeling like he's micromanaging or breathing down people's neck. No great performer wants a boss that does that, and any crew member wants to keep their team accountable if their paycheck is being affected. Right now, the only thing that keeps them from being late is you getting mad at them. When the crew is getting a percentage of the labor revenue, they will absolutely demolish other employees that make them late to the job because they're sitting in the truck not making any P for P. And then if they're able to make, $4 more per hour, I think your retention will go up too.
Yeah, I mean, and if they're more efficient, we could book more jobs, right? Like, I think that'll put some things into perspective for me too.
Let's head back to Arizona and see if Aaron and his crew are on the right track to getting out of debt.
You need to grind out more that way so we can put the concrete back. I know it's loud, guys. What I'm trying to tell them is that we need to grind out the root further on that other side. That way we can put this concrete edging back. We need to make it perfect. So right here still seems a little high. Necesito perfecto. Aquí menos labajo or más labajo. Someday I may run for president. Have you guys ever ran into the situation where one of your employees is about to get hit by a car, if they're having their backpack lower, or maybe you just want to get their attention? Well, I came up with a solution for that. It's my train horn. It gets their attention. Right now, I'm probably going to get a few guys asking me what's going on. They're all going to come to me, say, "What do you need, Aaron? What do you need?" That's if they're trained properly. No one's coming. It actually works really good. A lot of times the regular horn just doesn't work when you want to get their attention. Sure enough, yep, they're coming. All right, I got to get to work. This is Jose, my friend. He's back to work. He hasn't been working for about 2 months. He actually had a seizure on the job. Ended up having to pry his mouth open so he could breathe. Really worried about him, but he's finally got cleared by a doctor. So I'm really happy to have Jose back. He's been working with me the longest out of all my employees, about 1.5 years. Didn't allow him to go back to work just because I cared about him. I wanted him to be healthy, get himself well. So today's his first day and excited to see him back here. ¿Tú quieres hablar? Say hola. Hola. On my way to a service repair shop. It's called Mo Power here in Mesa, Arizona. One of my guys, I don't know who it is, but they tightened up the telescoping chainsaw too tight, stripped out the stud inside of the actual gearbox. Things like this, inefficiencies throughout the day, they end up eating the profits. I've explained to the guys how tight these studs need to be, but it seems like some of them just don't get it. I say about the strength of a 6-year-old boy. Imagine a 6-year-old boy tightening it down as tight as he possibly can. You don't want to tighten that baby down as tight as you possibly can. A grown man, I don't know, they must be a lot stronger than I was when I was 6 years old. Shit happens. You just got to roll with it. That way you can continue to make money. That's the goal.
I just arrived here this morning at Command Center for Augusta Lawn Care, our office, and the team showed me this message, these comments from Aaron that he had posted on one of my YouTube videos about expensive trucks, going into debt, loans, etc. And although I agree that it's nice to have a nice truck when you are out doing estimates, you're in the truck a lot throughout the day. I agree with that. I understand that. But you don't need a $140,000, $150,000 truck. It doesn't need to be an F450 if you're trying to get a nice interior. If you're pulling stuff around all day long, then I would assume that more than 20 to 30% of your revenue is coming from big projects. Right now, 70 to 80% of his revenue is coming from lawn mowing. You don't need the massive truck for that. So I struggle to think that you couldn't get a $50,000 or $60,000 truck and put the other $90,000 of debt behind you by getting a 3 or 4 year old truck that is just as nice inside and can still pull that much weight. And it's different if you have hundreds of thousands of dollars in your bank account. When you have $2,000 to $3,000 in your bank account and you're struggling to make payments, it's a different mindset that needs to come into play. If you put in your 5-10 years of growing the business, it's producing good cash flow and good profit, then you can go run a victory lap. Then you can go get a really nice truck or a fancy car or something like that. But this is not the time. This is the time to get scrappy and start paying some of this debt down so we can actually put some profit on the table.
So I just so happen to be across the street right now from a house that we provided service for I think it was 3 months. And the lady called me out. She saw good recommendations on the Nextdoor app. She ended up telling me during that consultation though that her previous landscaper died, and it kind of threw up a red flag. You know, said sorry to hear that. That wasn't the first time that I've heard that though, and that's why it kind of threw up a red flag for me. I think what happened is that this guy probably didn't die from COVID, that she was just a pain in the ass to work for. Very nitpicky, tried to throw in stuff for free at the end. My thinking was either these guys really did die, or it was a good excuse to basically get away from this lady. I ended up having to tell the lady, I'm sorry, you know, this, all this extra stuff is not included. I stood my ground. I'm not in this business to work for free.
Last week on Business Bootcamp, we checked in with Carter from California, running his lawn care business. In just its first few years, he's been growing it quickly.
I have about $18,000 worth of projects lined up. That number may change and go up depending on how efficient I am with 2 new guys.
However, this month he's projecting to do $27,000 in revenue, working 60, 70, 80 hours a week, and there's no profit coming from it. So right now, out of the 5,500 that they'd be creating, 3,800 of that's gonna go out to wages. Let's check in with Carter and see if he's improved his situation.
Got all my equipment loaded up, getting ready to take off. Going to go knock out a property cleanup worth about $800. Typically pretty bad at bidding property cleanups. I don't think I've ever done one where I've made more than like $35 an hour, and I bid them at 60. So this one I bid high. I'm hoping it'll work out. About 10 man hours is what I bid it for.
First and foremost, pricing wise, did we look at raising those, or have you done anything that this past week on raising the prices?
Yeah, so I have a couple accounts that I definitely am going to raise. I haven't ever really gotten many customer complaints. And then like just today, I got 3. It's little things like, you know, they said, hey, this shrub had a branch that's sticking out a foot from it for the past 3 weeks. Why can't he cut it? But I just don't know if I should be raising prices right now or if I need to fix it quality wise.
You'll always find information and data to prove to why you should not raise prices. And it almost always will come back to confidence around customer service. Like, oh man, I got these complaints, or like, you know, so-and-so, we broke their window the other day. Like that will always be the case. If they can't find another provider, they can't find someone that's going to do a good job like you. If you came back and corrected those 3 mistakes, they might not be able to find someone else that can do that. You know, customer service is subjective, and ultimately they're looking at the full package of value, right? Yeah. Now with your website coming out, now with, you know, the fact that you are, you know, really trying to professionalize the company, there's value in that. And ultimately, if you don't raise prices, like something's going to break eventually because you're working like crazy hours and there's no profit. So I would rather, you know, you raise prices and know immediately you make that route extremely profitable, but ultimately it'll like literally triple the profit on that route. If you are at capacity right now, that's where my concern is. If you're at capacity, like you can't get any more customers on the route, that's when it's like, okay, we should still raise prices, at least on the you know, the jobs that are not contractual. But it sounds like all of your jobs are on contract.
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah. So as soon as you're hitting capacity is when we should be raising prices, which I assume is going to happen in February.
Would you recommend me getting the second truck for maintenance this year?
You're at capacity with the 1 truck and 1 guy. Now, you all know me. I'm typically pretty conservative when it comes to debt and going into debt for your business. However, when you're young, like Carter is, you can afford to get into a little bit of debt, grow the business much faster, and then turn the knob of profitability by raising your prices and have a much larger impact. But again, I really believe that you're going to raise prices in February, and now that $10,000 route becomes $13,000, and you add a few more jobs in March, and you're going to even if you have another employee in there, you're going to be at capacity. What I would do is, even if you buy the truck and you have to get a payment on it, let's say it's $500 a month, right? I really believe if you align that with a price increase that is literally going to put $3,000 extra of money in your pocket,
$500 a month won't matter.
Exactly. even if you got debt on a truck, which you know me, I don't like it.
You got to be very careful with that. It's a double-edged sword. People play with it a lot. And you can see the difference in my advice between someone like Aaron, where I would typically say like, pay the debt off, get rid of the equipment, versus someone like Carter, who has a little more cash in the bank. And therefore I'm okay with a little bit more debt because the cushion of cash flow in the bank is okay.
If you know you're going to, and you've dedicated and you've already ran the numbers on what your increase in profit's going to be from raising prices, I'm okay with it, especially because if you buy in December, your first payment probably won't be till February 1st or in February 15th. So as long as you schedule your pricing increase correct, I'm okay with it because it's literally going to double your capacity. And when people start overthinking price increases, they start raising like, oh, I'll raise this one and this one and this. And all of a sudden they're only raising prices on like 20% of their customers. And it's like, if you just take the time that you spent trying to figure all that out and just gone and got more sales, you would have done better.
But in order to service that debt, you better be having good profits and you better have good cash flow going forward in the future. And that's why the price increases are extremely important.
That cleanup job took way too long. I averaged like $45 a man hour. People were kind of a pain in the butt, kept adding stuff, and I charged a little bit extra, but there was a lot of stuff that they thought was included that they hadn't mentioned before, and I need to get better at sticking up and saying no, it's not included, it's going to cost X amount of money extra, but oh well.
Let's jump back to Tacoma, Washington, where Dylan is training his new employee, Bree, on sod installation.
How is your comfort level with the machine? Do you feel okay operating it if I'm gone?
Yeah, it's not bad.
I'll pick up the topsoil. We're almost there. Yeah. No, we got most of the stuff out, so we're making good progress. So. All right, cool. I'm gonna take off. All right, thank you. Getting the hang of this?
Yeah, it's not too bad after a while.
Okay. We are just wrapping up the sod job, unfortunately. Second time ever I've done this. I'm short on sod. Actually, I do have to bring in a little bit of gravel here. We made a landing for him. We're running a little bit behind. Edouard came in. He was nice enough to hop off the mowing route and come help us wrap things up here before it got too late. Over here, got a garden bed. This space is going to be a garden bed for them, and they wanted some space around the perimeter of their yard. This will be the first day that I might get on the road before everybody even arrives at the shop. I've never done that. I'm always there to kind of greet them, but I'll get them instructions tonight on how to get started on the job so I can get on the road probably 6 a.m., get to the sod farm, pick this up, finish this, put some gravel in, and then get off to my estimates. Be a really long day tomorrow, but got to keep things on track. Been working all weekend trying to get caught up on some of this marketing stuff. Been reflecting as well on our offsite meeting. After they've had a few days to think about it, I'm gonna check in with them, see if they have any reservations about it or see how bought in they are. But got a chance to post a Performance Plus Max campaign, so we'll see how that does in the next few days. For the next hour, I'm out here with the kids looking like a complete dork with all these pads on, but just trying to spend 1 hour, let my brain rest, and then when we get back tonight, I'll be back at it writing some estimates.
Next week on Business Boot
So I
Camp.
assume you think it's a bad idea if I take on more debt.
I would.
Yeah.
You need to have a confessional right now, bro?
Yeah,
No!
If you want to be here, you got to get something to be there.
I cannot believe that he's literally, it's insanity.
2.5 hours of driving to pick up less than 100 square feet of sod. Looks like it's all gonna fit.
Staying at the house, staying with Tigger and Gertz, part of Goat Gang. It's not funny. I told you several times.
Said we had damaged some furniture, and then she said there's a missing ski bag of hers.
Would you like your business to be on the next season of Business Boot Camp? Take your company to the next level in 30 days by going to mikeandys.com/bootcamp and apply today.
All right, just getting my day started and packing my lunch. We have 3 loaves of bread. All 3 loaves of bread only have end pieces left. This is not cool. I hope this is not a reflection on how the rest of my day is gonna go. We'll see.